¿Que le está saliendo el agua sucia?
Residents in Maywood, California are afraid to drink their water, and it is easy to see why. Here, in this predominantly poor Latino community east of Los Angeles, tap water is often brown. No authorities have told the Padilla family not to drink the water, but like many here, they're cautious and buy filtered water to drink.
This is how it was coming out before she started washing her dishes.
Kenia Alcocer is a community advocate for clean water in Maywood. The samples of dirty water she collects from residents contain brownish chemicals like manganese.
There you see it. Same home. This one was taken November 17 from her restroom. And then you see 6 p.m. water comes out dirty again.
Every day, millions of Americans drink water from the tap. Under federal law, it's supposed to be free from harmful organisms and chemicals. But 35 years after Congress passed the Safe Drinking Water Act, some regulators and environmentalists say the law is now so out of date that it fails to protect residents from the most obvious threats. According to a Times analysis, since 2004, over 62 million Americans have received drinking water that violates basic health standards.
Most Americans believe that their drinking water is safe, and for millions of people it is. But for a large portion of the population, there are thousands of chemicals in drinking water that are unregulated. And even for those that are regulated, we've learned things in the past decade that let us know that those chemicals are more dangerous. But none of the rules have been changed since 2000 for the Safe Drinking Water Act.
There is no health standard for manganese, so tap water containing floating manganese particles is perfectly legal. Yet manganese has been linked to Parkinson's disease.
Manganese, they consider it, the state agencies, that it's not a primary health concern, that it's a secondary aesthetic, problem.
For Felipe Aguirre, the quality of drinking water here has become political. After being elected to the Maywood City Council, he made clean drinking water a priority.
Water quality is the #1 issue in the city of Maywood, because you can knock on the door of any resident and the first complaint they'll tell you is, what are you doing about the water?
Yet when Mr. Aguirre and other residents asked their 3 private water providers for cleaner water, opponents responded with negative ads, stating he wanted to raise water rates to pay for unnecessary upgrades.
Our water is safe to drink. There is no primary contaminants. There is no health risk to drink the water.
Gustavo Villa runs one of the Maywood water systems, which has routinely tested high for manganese.
After so many years, you will see these kind of minerals, and they stick into the walls of the main lines because the corrosion and the minerals. Yes, there is problem, but still acceptable, and it passed all the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Under pressure from residents and California legislators, Mr. Villa's water system is now building a treatment plant that will remove some manganese from the water. But manganese is only part of Maywood's water problem. Less visible contaminants persist, including a manufacturing solvent called trichloroethylene, or TCE. Recent studies show that TCE is more dangerous than previously thought. It has been associated with cancer and kidney and liver damage.
There's a lot of distrust of the water. It's not fair that we pay double for filtered water and for this. It's expensive.
Like many here, Rafael Castro drinks and cooks with filtered water only. The water system feeding his tap has tested high for TCE, lead, and other industrial chemicals.
And whom are we going to believe? I don't have anything. All that I know is what I see, what I smell, and what I taste. It tastes like kind of bad.
The source of contamination is unclear, but some of the city's wells pull from underground aquifers near contaminated areas. The Pemmico Superfund site is located just 3 blocks from a Maywood water well.
Ever since Pemmico chemical factory burned down in 1992 or 93, the agencies have been out here, trying to deal with this site.
The ground there is heavily polluted with TCE and other hazardous chemicals.
These chemicals, they seem to be like a witch's brew, of contamination. And while neither I nor a lot of people understand, the makeup of these chemicals or what effect they have. I know that there's a lot of sick people in Maywood.
Scientists and regulators within the EPA for over a decade now have been pushing for tougher rules on drinking water and new laws that empower them. But very often when they've tried to do that, industry has pushed back very successfully, because if the rules got tighter, a lot of companies would have to pay a lot more in cleanup costs.
And for already strapped municipalities like Maywood, the cost of filtering new chemicals could cost millions of dollars.
Mr. Rolfe.
Bob Rolfe runs the Maywood water system that tests highest for TCE.
Is there a problem with the water here in Maywood?
He would not speak on camera, but stated that, "We follow the letter of the law. If they change it, then that's what we'll do."
The EPA says that they believe that most people in America get safe drinking water, but even they admit that there are contaminants and chemicals that have not been analyzed. And so Lisa Jackson, the new EPA administrator who took office earlier this year, has asked Congress for greater authority to analyze chemicals.
Until the law is updated, people in Maywood and around the country remain at risk, and millions of Americans cannot be sure that their water is safe.